Hey there, I'm Alan. I'm going to take the next few minutes and just give you guys a little bit of background on me, continue into why I'm a fan of astrology or how I got into it, and then, of course, what the value is in the romantic space. Background is not entirely typical, but not that unusual. My family was Canadian, but we wound up in the States when I was about 3 years old. I always showed quite a bizarre intuition. Would hang out with the adults, ask a lot of questions, oftentimes even offer advice on subjects that were way out of my league, but seemingly had relevancy with whatever I was saying. The parents around the table would stop eating and look at the 4-year-old that just had some bizarre insight. And that kind of energy carried with me through my youth. I was not particularly connected to my academics, but bright enough to get through it. I wound up deeply in transcendental meditation in my early 20s, although at the same time was encouraged to pursue a career on Wall Street, which I really enjoyed. And as my financial, practical motivation got stronger, some of my spiritual pursuits started to fall by the wayside more, and I stopped meditating, for example. And I continued on that path right through my 30s, moving from Wall Street into technology for financial services, doing predominantly global business development and sales work. So over the course of almost 2 decades, I sold in 22 countries, 14 of them successfully. And I lived abroad for a number of years in Europe. I traveled to South America for a number of years, opening up new markets. My life on the surface looked wonderful because I had many of the material trappings that a lot of people would consider signs of success. And all the while, my health started to struggle. And it was always struggling, but it got worse and worse as I went down that path. And as I got through my 30s and into my 40s, I eventually moved my way out of it. Around the same time, I would say, as I was probably reaching the peak of my physical challenges, I ended up meeting a well-known astrologer. And she showed me my natal chart, and I was living down in Miami. And I lit up. Like there was something about seeing that astrological chart that just connected almost immediately. And I felt a compulsion to go deeper into it. I ended up picking up a mentor. When I was living in London, I took a course on it. I've been studying it now probably for about 6 years. And over the last 2-3 years, pretty intensively. I get requests for readings from all over. I would say that most of those readings, people want to know about themselves. Why am I here? Why am I unsettled? Why do I have these weird tendencies or proclivities? Every so often, you end up getting couples readings, you even get families readings, where you try to understand and explain to people the energetic dynamic that is indicative in their relationships and what's bringing them together or oftentimes creating conflict. And that's the third area that I could spend all day talking to you about, which is how when you understand the energy, which is commonly termed chemistry, and you truly know what's behind the motivation of the things that people say and do, then you're in this wonderful, wonderful position to really help people come together, which is the matchmaking element of it, or oftentimes overcome adversity, conflict resolution, and then even beyond that, potentially come to a state of not just awareness of self and awareness of other, but potential evolution, which is I understand why I do what I do, and I'm actually in a position now to implement the necessary steps should I decide to change it. So the culmination of that awareness is just phenomenally empowering as it relates to relationships and the benefit that I feel I can bring as an everyday, psychologically oriented, bizarrely intuitive, but largely just another astrologer.